Madame le Speaker, Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs les membres du Congrès des États-Unis,
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the United States Congress, I want to say a first thing.
l'amitié
Friendship
pour la France,
for France
c'est d'abord d'être
means
fidèle
first and
à
foremost
ses
being
amis,
true
à
to
ses
one's
valeurs,
friends, to one's
à
values,
son histoire,
to one's history
La
and one's
France
past.
et l'ami des
France
États-Unis
is the
d'Amérique.
friend of the United States of America.
Ce n'est pas simplement le président de la France qui parle.
It is not simply the French president who says that.
Je ne suis que l'expression.
I am simply the expression, the voice of the people of France.
Depuis que les États-Unis sont
Since
apparus sur la scène
the
du
United
monde,
States first appeared on the world
nos
scene,
deux peuples,
our two peoples,
le peuple américain
the
et
French
le peuple
and the
français,
American people,
ont toujours été amis.
have always been
Et les
friends.
épreuves de l'histoire de nos deux pays
And
ont renforcé cette amitié.
the hardship
Avec des amis,
that both our peoples have endured
peut
have
avoir
simply
des
steeled
divergences.
that friendship.
on peut
We
avoir
may
des
have
désaccords,
differences.
on peut
We
même
may
avoir des
disagree
disputes,
on things. We
comme
may even
dans une famille.
have arguments, as in
Mais
any
dans la
family.
difficulté,
But in times
et
of
dans
difficulty, in times of hardship,
on est avec ses amis,
one stands true to
on
one's
est à leur
friends.
côté,
One stands
on les
shoulder to
soutient,
shoulder with them. One
on les
supports
aide.
them and one helps them.
dans la difficulté et dans
In
l'épreuve.
times of difficulty, in times of
L'Amérique
hardship,
et la France
America
ont
and
toujours été
France
côte à côte.
have always stood side
Elles
by
se sont
side.
soutenues,
They have always supported one
elles se
another.
sont aidées,
They have helped one another.
et chacune,
And
l'Amérique
each
et la France,
of us,
s'est
America and
battue
France,
pour la
has
liberté
fought
de l'autre.
for each other's freedom.
Les États-Unis et la France
The United States and
sont
France
fidèles au
remain
souvenir de leur
true
histoire commune.
to the memory of their common history.
Notre devoir,
Our duty
c'est d'être fidèles
is
au
to remain
sang
true
que nos enfants
to the blood spilled
ont versé
by our
des deux
children
côtés de l'Atlantique.
on both sides
des
of the
combats
Atlantic in common battles.
Mais les États-Unis et la France ne sont pas seulement
But
deux nations
the United
fidèles
States and France
à
are
la
not simply
mémoire
two nations
de ce qu'elles ont
that are true
accompli
to the memory of what they
ensemble
accomplished
dans le passé.
together in the past.
Les États-Unis et la France,
The United States and
ce sont
France
deux nations
are two nations
qui sont fidèles à un
that
même
remain
idéal,
true to the
qui
one and
défendent
same
les mêmes
ideal,
principes,
who uphold the same
qui croient dans les
principles,
mêmes
who
valeurs.
believe in the same values.
Je parle
And I
devant le
refer,
portrait
or I
de
speak to you
Washington
as I stand
et
before
celui de Lafayette.
the portraits of Washington and of Lafayette.
Lafayette fut le premier
Lafayette
à s'exprimer
was the
devant
first
vos deux chambres.
to speak to both
Qu'est-ce qui a
chambers.
rapproché deux hommes
What
si
could
différents
possibly have
par
brought
l'âge
together two
et
men
par les origines?
who were so
Lafayette,
different in terms of age and
George
of
Washington.
origin, Lafayette and
Ce
George
sont des
Washington?
valeurs communes.
It is their common
C'est un
values,
même
their shared
amour
values, a
de la
same
liberté et
love
de la
of
justice.
liberty and of justice.
Et quand Lafayette
And when Lafayette
a rejoint Washington,
joined George
il
Washington,
lui a dit
he said to him,
« Je viens ici
I
sur
have
cette
come
terre
here
d'Amérique
to this land of
pour
America
apprendre
to learn
et pas pour enseigner.
and not to teach.
Il venait du vieux monde
He came
vers
from
le
the
nouveau
old
monde.
world and he
et
came
il a dit
to the new
« Je
world.
viens pour
And he
apprendre
said,
et
I
pas
have
pour
come
enseigner.
here to learn and not to »
C'était
teach.
l'esprit
That
nouveau et la
was
jeunesse
the
du vieux
new
monde,
spirit
qui venait à la
and
rencontre
youth of the old
de la
world,
sagesse du nouveau monde.
coming to
Pour
seek out the
ouvrir
wisdom of the
ici,
new world,
en Amérique,
to open here
une
in
ère
America
nouvelle
a new
à
era
l'humanité
for
tout
all
entière.
of humankind.
Le rêve américain,
The American dream,
ce rêve américain,
this American dream,
ce fut dès le départ, dès
was
les
from
origines,
the very beginning, the very
de
outset,
mettre en pratique
a matter
ce
of
que le
putting
vieux monde
into practice
avait rêvé,
what the old
sans
world
pouvoir
had
le
dreamt
construire.
of without ever being able to build
Le
it
rêve
and to
américain,
accomplish it. From the very
ce fut
beginning,
dès l'origine
the American dream
de prouver à tous les hommes à travers le monde
meant proving
que la
to
liberté,
all men and women throughout
la
the world
justice,
that freedom,
les droits de l'homme,
justice,
la
human
démocratie,
rights and democracy
ce n'était pas
were
une
not
utopie,
an
mais au
utopia,
contraire,
but quite the
la
reverse.
politique la plus réaliste qui
They
soit,
were the most realistic
et la
policy
meilleure
there
politique
is, and the most
pour améliorer
likely
le
to
sort
improve
de
the
chacun.
lot and fate of each
Aux
and every
millions
one.
d'hommes et de femmes venus de tous les pays,
To the millions of men and
construit avec
women who
leurs
came
mains,
from every country in the world and who,
avec leur
with their own
intelligence,
hands, their
avec leur
intelligence,
cœur,
and their
la
hearts,
plus grande nation du monde.
built the greatest nation in the world.
L'Amérique n'a pas dit
America did
venez
not say,
et tout vous sera
come
donné.
and everything will be given to you.
L'Amérique a dit
Rather, she said,
venez
come,
et il n'y aura
and
pas
the
d'autre
only
limite à ce que
limits
vous pourrez
to what you will
accomplir
be able to
que
achieve
celle de
will
votre
be those of
courage
your own
et de
courage,
votre talent.
your boldness, and your talent.
L'Amérique que nous aimons à travers le monde,
The America that we love throughout the world
c'est ce pays qui a cette capacité
embodies
extraordinaire
this extraordinary
de donner à
ability to
chacun
grant each
une
and every
nouvelle
person
chance.
a second chance,
Car en
another
Amérique,
chance.
l'échec
Because in America,
n'est jamais définitif.
failure is never the
Ici,
last word. There is always another
Chez vous,
chance.
sur cette terre,
Here, in your
le plus
country, on this
illustre des
soil,
citoyens,
both the
comme le plus
humblest and the most illustrious citizens
sait
alike
que rien n'est dû,
know that nothing is owed to them
que tout se
and
gagne.
that everything has to be
C'est ce
earned.
qui fait la valeur
That is what
morale.
constitutes the moral value of America.
L'Amérique n'a pas L'Amérique n'a pas enseigné
did
aux hommes
not teach men the
de la liberté.
idea of freedom.
L'Amérique
She taught
a
them
enseigné aux hommes la
how
pratique
to
de
practice
la
it,
liberté.
how to practice freedom.
L'Amérique s'est battue pour cette liberté
And America
chaque fois
fought for this
qu'elle l'a
freedom
sentie
whenever she
menacée.
felt it to be threatened or
et c'est en
jeopardized.
regardant grandir
And it was by
l'Amérique
watching America grow
que les hommes
that
ont
men and
compris
women
que la liberté
understood
était possible.
that freedom and liberty
Et c'est
were
cela
possible.
qui vous donne
And it
une
is that
responsabilité
that gives you
particulière.
a special responsibility.
La grandeur de l'Amérique,
What
c'est
made
d'avoir
America
réussi à
great
transformer son
was
rêve,
her ability to transform her own
le rêve
dream,
américain,
the American
en
dream,
une espérance
into
pour tous
a
les
source
hommes.
of hope for all of
Mesdames
mankind.
et messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen,
les hommes et les femmes de ma
the
génération
men and women of my generation
ont entendu leurs grands-parents
heard
raconter
their grandparents talk to
comment
them
l'Amérique,
about
en
how
1917,
in 1917
la France.
America saved France
au moment
at a
où
time
mon pays
when my
parvenait à
country
l'extrême
had
limite
reached the
de ses
final
forces,
limits of its strengths,
au moment où
at
la
a time
France était épuisée
when
dans la
France
plus absurde
was exhausted,
et
had
la plus
spent
sanglante des guerres,
its strength in the
La
most
France
absurd and bloodiest of
a pu
wars.
compter.
And
sur le
France
courage
was able
des
to
soldats
count
américains.
upon the courage
Je
of
suis
American
venu vous
soldiers.
dire au nom
And I
du
have come
peuple
to say
français
to you, on behalf of
que
the French
jamais
people, that
nous
never,
ne l'oublierons.
never will we forget that.
Les hommes et les femmes de ma génération
The men and women of my
entendu leurs parents
generation
raconter
heard their parents talk to
comment
them
l'Amérique
about
était revenue
how America
en 1944
returned in 1944
nous libérer
to free us
de l'effroyable
from the
tyrannie
horrifying
qui
tyranny
menaçait de nous asservir.
that threatened to enslave us.
Et les pères dans mon pays
And fathers in my
ont emmené
country
leurs fils
took their sons
voir les grands cimetières
to see the vast
où sous
cemeteries
des milliers de
where,
croix
under
blanches,
thousands of white
dorment.
crosses,
si loin de chez eux,
so far from home,
des milliers
thousands
de
of
jeunes
young American
soldats
soldiers
américains
lay,
qui sont
who had
tombés
fallen
non pas pour
not to
défendre leur
defend
propre
their
liberté,
own freedom,
mais la
but
liberté
the freedom
de tous les
of
autres
all others
qui sont morts loin de chez eux,
who died
non pas
far
pour
from their
défendre leur
homes,
famille,
not to
leur
defend
patrie,
their own families and their own
mais pour
homeland,
défendre
but to
l'humanité
defend
tout entière.
humanity as a whole.
Voilà pourquoi
That
nous
is
aimons
why
l'Amérique.
we love America.
Et les pères ont emmené leurs fils
And the fathers took
sur
their
les plages
sons to the beaches,
où les jeunes de
the
l'Amérique
beaches where the young men of America
avaient débarqué en héros.
had so heroically landed.
Et les pères lisaient à leurs
And
fils
the fathers read to their
ces lettres
sons
d'adieu admirables
the admirable letters of farewell
que ces soldats
that those
de
soldiers,
20 ans
those 20-year-old
avaient
soldiers,
écrites à leurs familles
had written to their
avant la
families
bataille
before
pour leur
battle,
dire nous ne
to say
sommes
to
pas
them,
des héros.
we don't consider
Nous
ourselves to
voulons
be
que cette guerre
heroes.
cesse,
We want this war to be
mais
over.
quelles que soient nos
But
angoisses,
however much dread we may
on
feel,
pourra compter.
you can count on us.
Et avant de débarquer,
And before they landed,
Eisenhower
Eisenhower told them,
leur avait dit, et nous n'avons pas oublié en Europe,
and we have not forgotten in Europe
les
his
yeux
words,
du monde sont
the
fixés
eyes
sur
of the
vous,
world are
jeunes
upon you,
d'Amérique.
young men of
Les
America.
espoirs
The hopes
les
and
prières
prayers
de tous les peuples
of
épris de liberté,
all liberty-loving
nous accompagnent.
people everywhere march
et
with
les
you.
enfants de ma génération,
And the children of my
en écoutant
generation,
leur père,
as they listen to their
en
fathers,
regardant les films,
as they watch movies,
en lisant
as
les
they
livres d'histoire
read history
et
books
les lettres
and the letters
de vos soldats
of
morts
your soldiers
sur nos plages
who
de
died
Normandie ou de
on our
Provence,
beaches in Normandy or
en
Provence,
visitant les cimetières,
as they visited the cemeteries where the Star-Spangled Banner flies.
ont compris
The
que ces
children
jeunes
of my
Américains de
generation
20
have
ans
understood that these young
étaient des héros
20-year-old Americans were true
auxquels
heroes
nous devions
to whom
d'être des
we
hommes libres
owed the fact
et non
that
pas
we were free
des
people
esclaves.
and not slaves. America
libérés.
liberated
C'est une
us,
dette
and
éternelle.
this is an eternal debt we owe America.
Et en tant que président de la République française,
As President
devoir.
of the French Republic, my duty
c'est de dire au peuple
is
d'Amérique
to say to the people of America that you represent in its vast diversity that France will never forget the sacrifice of your children,
et de dire
and to say
aux familles de ceux
to
qui
the
ne sont pas
families
revenus,
of those who did not return, those who did
les
not come
enfants
back,
qui ont pleuré des pères,
to those children who cried the loss of their fathers, whom they virtually had no time to know that the gratitude of France is forever.
au nom de ma génération qui
On
n'a pas
behalf
connu
of
la
my
guerre,
generation that did not suffer,
au nom de nos
under the
enfants
war,
qui se souviendront
on
toujours,
behalf of those children
à
who will
tous les
always
vétérans
remember,
qui sont ici,
and to all the veterans present
et
here,
notamment aux 7
and in
que j'ai eu
particular
l'honneur de décorer
to the
hier soir.
7 I was honored enough to decorate
dont l'un
last
d'eux,
night, one of whom,
Le sénateur Inouye, appartient à votre
Senator
congrès.
Inouye, belongs to your
Je veux
Congress.
dire
I want to
la
express the
profonde,
deep,
la
sincere
reconnaissance
gratitude
sincère du peuple
of
français.
the French people.
Et je veux vous dire une chose,
And I want to tell you
Important.
something important.
chaque fois que dans le monde
Every time
tombe un soldat
Whenever
américain,
an American soldier
Je
falls
pense
somewhere in the
à ce que
world,
l'armée
I
d'Amérique a
think
fait
of
pour
what
la
the
France.
American army did for France.
Je pense à eux
I think of
et
them,
je suis triste,
and I am sad
comme on est triste
as one
de
is
perdre un
saddened
membre de sa famille.
to lose a member of one's family.
Et cela, mesdames et messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen,
c'est plus important
that is more
que
important
tous les désaccords que
than
nous avons
any
pu avoir
disagreements that we may have,
et que tous les
or that we
désaccords
may
que nous
have
pourrons
had,
avoir
or any disagreement
Cela,
which we
c'est
may
le
yet
socle
have. That is the
entre la
bedrock
France et les
of
États-Unis d'Amérique.
the friendship between France
Les hommes
and the
et les
United
femmes de
States
ma
of
génération
America.
ont gardé en mémoire le plan Marshall.
The men and women in my generation
Qui a
remember
permis
the
à leur
Marshall
père de
Plan
reconstruire
that allowed their
l'Europe
fathers to rebuild
dévastée.
a devastated Europe.
Les hommes et les femmes de ma
The men
génération
and women of my
ont
generation
gardé en
remember
mémoire la guerre
the
froide
Cold War,
pendant laquelle l'Amérique
during which America
fut le
again
rempart du monde
stood
libre
as the bulwark of the
contre
free
la
world
menace d'une
against
nouvelle
the threat
tyrannie.
of a new tyranny.
Je me souviens
I remember
la crise de Berlin
the Berlin crisis,
du président Kennedy,
and
prenant
President
sans
Kennedy,
hésiter le
who
risque d'engager les
unhesitatingly
États-Unis
risked engaging
dans la
the
plus
United States in the most
destructrice des guerres
destructive of
pour que
wars,
l'Europe puisse
so
garder
that
cette
Europe
liberté
may preserve the
pour laquelle
freedom
le
for
peuple
which the
américain
American people
avait déjà
had
consenti
already
tant
sacrificed
de
so
sacrifices.
much.
Oublier cela, ce serait pour un homme de ma
To forget
génération.
that would, for a man of my
S'en renier.
generation, be tantamount to
Mais
self-denial.
ma génération
But my generation
n'a pas seulement aimé
did not
l'Amérique
love
parce qu'elle avait
America
défendu la
only because she
liberté.
had defended freedom.
Nous avons aimé
We
l'Amérique
also loved America
parce qu'elle a incarné pour nous
because for us,
ce qu'il y
she
avait de
embodied
plus audacieux
what
dans
was most
l'aventure humaine.
audacious about the human adventure, the human
Parce que
enterprise.
l'Amérique
Because America,
incarnait pour nous
for us,
l'esprit de
embodied
conquête.
the spirit of conquest.
Nous avons aimé
We
l'Amérique
loved America
parce que l'Amérique
because
c'était
for
une nouvelle
us,
frontière.
America was a
sans
new
cesse
frontier
repoussée.
that was continuously being
Un
rolled
défi
back,
sans cesse
a constantly renewed challenge
à l'inventivité
to the
de
inventiveness
l'esprit
of the human spirit.
Ma génération,
My generation,
sans venir sur votre territoire,
without even coming to
a
America,
partagé tous vos rêves.
shared all of your dreams.
Dans l'imaginaire de ma génération,
In our imaginations, or
il y
our
a la conquête de
imaginations
l'Ouest et
were
Hollywood.
fueled by Hollywood,
Il y a Elvis Presley
by the great
qu'on a peut-être pas
conquest of
l'habitude
the
de
Western
citer dans ces
Territories.
murs.
By Elvis Presley, you've often probably
Mais
not
pour ma
heard his name
génération,
quoted here.
il
But
est
for my
universel.
generation, he is universal.
Il y a Duke Ellington,
There's Duke Ellington,
il y a Hemingway,
Hemingway,
il y a John Wayne,
John Wayne,
il y a Charlton Heston,
Charlton
il y a
Heston,
Marilyn Monroe,
Marilyn Monroe,
Rita Hayworth,
Rita
mais il y a aussi
Hayworth, but also
Armstrong,
Armstrong,
Aldrin,
Aldrin,
Collins,
Collins,
réalisant
who
le
fulfilled
plus vieux rêve de l'homme, le
mankind's
jour
oldest
où les
dream
Américains
on the day
marchaient
when
sur la
Americans
Lune.
walked on the
L'Amérique
moon.
était universelle.
That day,
Et chacun
America was
voulait
universal,
de cette aventure.
and each one of us wanted to be part of this great adventure.
Et ce qu'il y avait de plus extraordinaire pour nous,
What was
c'est
most
qu'à travers
extraordinary
votre
for us
littérature,
was that through
votre
your
cinéma,
literature,
votre musique,
your cinema,
il nous semblait
your
que
music,
l'Amérique sortait toujours
it
plus
seemed to
grande,
us that America always seemed to emerge
toujours plus forte
ever
des
greater
épreuves qu'elle traversait.
and stronger from the
Et ces
adversity
épreuves,
and the challenges it
Il nous
faced.
semblait,
And it seemed to
au lieu de
us
l'amener à douter
that
d'elle-même,
instead of causing America
elle
to
conduisait
engage
à
in
croire
self-doubt,
davantage en vos valeurs.
these difficulties
La force de
only
la musique.
strengthened her belief in
C'est
her
la force de
values.
cet
What makes
idéal
America
qui est
strong
partagé par tous
is
les
the strength of
Américains
this ideal that is
et par
shared by
tous les
all
ennemis
Americans and by all those
l'aiment
who love her
parce qu'ils aiment
because
la liberté.
they love freedom.
Je l'affirme dans la tribune de ce
And
congrès.
let me say this
La
as I
force de
stand
l'Amérique
before you here in this
n'est pas
Congress.
seulement une force
America's strength
matérielle.
is not only a
C'est
material
d'abord
strength.
une force
It is
morale,
first and foremost
une
a
force
moral
spirituelle.
strength, a spiritual
Nul
strength.
ne l'a mieux
And no one
exprimé
expressed
qu'un
this
pasteur
better than a
noir
black pastor
qui ne demandait à l'Amérique
who asked
qu'une seule
just one
chose,
thing of America,
qu'elle fût fidèle
that she be true
à cet idéal
to the ideal
au nom duquel
in
il
whose
se
name
sentait,
he,
lui, le
the
petit-fils
grandson of a
d'esclave,
slave,
si
felt
profondément
so deeply
américain.
American.
Il s'appelait
His
Martin
name
Luther
was Martin
King.
Luther King.
Il a fait de
He made
l'Amérique une
America
référence
a universal
universelle
role
dans le
model.
monde. Et le monde se souvient de ses
And the
paroles.
world still remembers his
Que
words,
pas un jeune Français de
that
ma
not a
génération
single
n'a
young
oublié
Frenchman of my generation has
les
forgotten
paroles de
either.
Martin Luther King,
The words of Martin Luther King,
des paroles d'amour,
words of love,
des paroles de dignité,
words of dignity,
des paroles de justice.
words of
Et
justice.
ces paroles,
And these words,
l'Amérique les a entendues.
America
Et
heard,
l'Amérique a changé.
and as a result, America
Et
changed.
les hommes
And
qui
the
avaient
men
douté de l'Amérique
and women who had doubted
parce qu'ils ne la
America
reconnaissaient plus,
because they no longer recognized her,
mis
began
à
to
aimer
love her
de nouveau
once again.
l'Amérique. Au fond,
Fundamentally,
que demande à l'Amérique ceux qui l'aiment
what are those who love America
Sinon,
asking of her,
d'être
if not to
toujours
remain forever
fidèle
true
à vos
to
valeurs
your
fondatrices.
founding values?
Mesdames, Messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen,
aujourd'hui, comme hier,
today as in the past, As we stand at the beginning of the 21st century, it is together that we must fight to defend and promote the values and ideals of freedom and democracy that men such as Washington and Lafayette coined and invented together. Together, united, we must fight against terror. On September the 11th, 2001, all of France, horror-struck as we were, that rallied to the American people. And the front page headline of one of our major dailies read, "We are all American" on this 11th of September 2001. And on that day, when you were mourning so many dead, never had America appeared to me as so great, so dignified, so strong. The terrorists had thought that they would weaken you, but they made you greater. And the people of America were admired worldwide for its courage. That is the truth. And from day one, France decided to participate shoulder to shoulder with you in the war in Afghanistan. And let me tell you solemnly today, France will remain engaged in Afghanistan for as long as it takes, because what is at stake in that country is the very future of our values and that of the Atlantic Alliance.
Je le dis solennellement devant vous.
Solemnly, before you, let me say,
n'est pas une option.
Failure is not an option.
Le terrorisme ne gagnera pas.
Terrorism will not prevail, for democracies are not entitled to be weak. And because we, the free world, are not afraid of this new barbarism. And because of that, America can count on France in its battle on terror.
Et c'est ensemble encore
and again together, it is together
que nous devons mener le combat
that
contre
we
la
must fight
prolifération.
against proliferation.
Le succès enregistré en Libye,
Success
les
in
progrès
Libya
en cours en Corée du Nord,
and progress underway in
montrent
North
que la
Korea
prolifération nucléaire,
show clearly that nuclear proliferation is not
je
inevitable.
l'affirme devant vous,
And I say this as I stand
la
before you.
perspective
The
d'un Iran
prospect
doté
of
de l'arme
an Iran
nucléaire
armed with nuclear weapons is unacceptable for France.
Le peuple iranien,
The Iranian people are a great people.
le peuple iranien,
The Iranian people
issu d'une grande civilisation,
who
mérite
come from a
mieux
great civilization
que les
deserve better
sanctions et l'isolement croissant
than the toughened sanctions and
auxquels
growing
le
isolation
condamnent ses
to which
dirigeants.
their leaders condemn it.
Nous devons convaincre l'Iran
We must
de faire le
persuade
choix de la
Iran
coopération,
to choose
du
cooperation,
dialogue et
dialogue
de l'ouverture.
and openness.
Nul ne doit
And no
douter
one
de
must
notre
doubt
détermination.
our determination.
Nous serons fermes
We will remain firm
et nous dialoguerons
and we will
parce que
dialogue,
nous aurons
engage
su
in dialogue,
être
precisely because we have been able to remain firm.
Et nous
Together,
devons aider les peuples du
we must
Moyen-Orient
help the peoples of the
à
Middle
trouver
East
le chemin de la paix
to find the
et de la
path
sécurité.
that will lead them to peace and security.
Aux dirigeants
To the Israeli and Palestinian leaders, I wish to say this. Do not hesitate. Take whatever risks you need to take for peace, and do so now, because the status quo masks even greater dangers, that of delivering Palestinian society as a whole to the extremists that challenge in an unacceptable manner the very existence of Israel, that of playing into the hands of radical regimes that are exploiting the deadlock in the conflict in order to destabilize the region, that of fueling the propaganda of terrorists who want to pitch Islam against the West. France wants security for Israel. It will not change its position, and it demands that there be a state for the Palestinians, and that is the only way forward for peace. And it is again together that we must help the Lebanese people affirm their independence, their sovereignty, their freedom, their democracy. No one is entitled to prevent Lebanon to live as a free country. What Lebanon needs today is a broad-based president elected according or by the Lebanese and in strict respect of its constitution. France will not accept anyone trying to subjugate the Lebanese people. Ladies and gentlemen, America feels that it has a vocation to inspire the world. America is the world's most powerful country because for more than 2 centuries she has striven to uphold the ideals of democracy and freedom. And allow a friend of America to say this to her. This stated responsibility comes with duties for France and for America, and the first of which is that of setting an example. Those who love this nation, which more than any other has demonstrated the virtues of free enterprise, expect America to be the very first to denounce the abuses and the excesses of a financial capitalism that sets too great a store by speculation. They expect her to commit fully to the establishment of the necessary rules and safeguards. The America that I love is the one that encourages entrepreneurs, not speculators. Those who admire the nation that has built the world's greatest economy and has never ceased trying to persuade the world of the advantages of free trade expect her to be the first to promote fair exchange rates. The yuan is already everybody's problem. The dollar cannot remain solely the problem of others. If we are not careful, monetary disarray could indeed morph into economic war, and we would all of us, be its victims. Those who love the country of wide open spaces, of national parks, and nature-protected nature reserves, expect America to stand alongside Europe in leading, I repeat, leading the fight against global warming that threatens the destruction of our planet. I know that the American people, in its cities and states, are increasingly aware of the stakes and determined to act. Allow me to say, with all the friendship that I feel for America, that this fight is essential for the future of humanity. And we will not be able to achieve the results that we must achieve without America leading this fight for the safeguarding of our planet, of humankind, of the human species. We need America in order to protect our planet and its environment.
Ceux qui n'ont pas oublié Mesdames et Messieurs, permettez-moi de vous livrer
Ladies and gentlemen,
une dernière conviction.
allow me to express one last conviction.
Ayez confiance
Trust
dans l'Europe.
Europe.
Notre monde est instable.
Our world is unstable.
Il est dangereux.
It is a dangerous world.
Je l'affirme.
And I state this as I stand before you. The United States of America needs a strong, determined Europe.
L'Union européenne est en passe avec le traité simplifié
The European Union,
de sortir de 10 années
with
de
the
débats sur
simplified
ses
treaty,
institutions
is
et donc
about to emerge
de
from
paralysie.
10 years of discussion on its institutions and therefore 10 years of paralysis. Europe will soon have a stable president
D'un ministre des Affaires étrangères
and
plus puissant
a
pour sa
more
politique
powerful
étrangère et de
high
sécurité.
representative for its foreign and
Je
security
veux vous
policy.
expliquer
And I want to explain
que
to you
l'Europe doit désormais
that Europe
relancer
must
le
now
grand chantier de ses capacités militaires.
re-engage in the major
L'ambition que
dossier of its
propose
military
notre partenaire part
capabilities.
d'un constat simple.
The aim or objective I'm proposing to our partners is based on a simple observation,
Que de capacités pour y
i.e.
faire face.
there are more crises than there are capabilities
L'OTAN ne peut être
to
partout.
cope with them. NATO cannot be
L'Union
everywhere.
européenne doit être
The
capable
European
d'agir
Union must be able
dans
to
les
act
Balkans,
as
au
it
Congo,
did in the Balkans and in the
demain au
Congo,
Soudan ou au Tchad.
and as it will tomorrow
Pour cela,
in Sudan
les
and Chad.
Européens
And for
doivent
that,
faire un effort
Europeans
accru.
must step up their efforts.
Ma démarche
My approach
je vous demande,
believe me,
n'est
I
pas
ask you to
idéologique.
believe me, is not an ideological one.
ma démarche est
My
purement
approach is
pragmatique.
purely pragmatic.
Instruit par l'histoire
Having learned from
que je
history,
rappelais au début de
the
mon
history
propos,
I was recalling at the beginning
souhaite
of
que
my
dans les années
statement,
qui viennent,
I want in the years to
les
come
Européens se
for
donnent
Europeans
les
to
moyens
have the means
d'assurer
to
une
shoulder
part
a growing
croissante
share
de leur défense.
of their defense.
Je veux dire ces deux phrases du fond du
And I
cœur.
want to say these two sentences from the bottom
Pour
of
que
my
chacun le
heart,
comprenne.
so that each and every one of you should
pourrait
understand what I'm referring to. Who could blame the United States for ensuring its own security? No one could.
Qui pourrait nous
Who
reprocher
could blame
de
me
vouloir que
for
l'Europe
wanting Europe
assure
to ensure
davantage sa
more of
sécurité?
its own
Personne.
security? No one.
Tous nos alliés,
All our
à
allies,
commencer par les
to begin
États-Unis,
with the United
avec
States,
lesquels nous partageons le plus
with
souvent
whom
les
we
mêmes
most
intérêts,
often share the same interests and the same
ont un
adversaries,
intérêt stratégique
have a strategic interest in ensuring that Europe be able to affirm and assert itself as a strong, credible security partner.
dans le même temps
At the same time,
et avec la même
and
force,
with the same
dans le même
strength
temps
of
et avec la
belief,
même force,
at the same time,
connaissant
and
bien
likewise,
l'histoire politique de mon pays.
being very familiar with the political history of my country, I want to affirm my attachment to NATO.
Je le dis
I say it
à la tribune
here at the
de
podium
ce congrès.
before this
Plus
Congress.
l'Europe de la défense sera à bout.
The more successful we are in establishing a European defense, the more France will be resolved to resume its full role in NATO.
Souhaite que la France,
I would like France, a
fondateur
founding member of our
de
alliance,
notre alliance, et qui est déjà l'un
and
de ses
already
premiers
one
contributeurs,
of its largest contributors to assume its full role in the effort to renew NATO's instruments and means of action,
et fasse évoluer dans
and
ce
in this
contexte
context,
sa relation avec l'Alliance,
that it should allow its relations with the
avec
alliance
l'évolution
to
du
evolve
renforcement de l'Europe
just as European defense should grow and evolve. There is no time for theological quarrels. We do not have time on our side. We need to come up with pragmatic responses in order to make our security tools and instruments more effective and operational in the face of crises. The European Union and the Alliance and NATO must march hand in hand. Our duty is to protect our fellow citizens, and we will protect them together. A European defense which is credible and strong within an alliance which is renewed. Ladies and gentlemen, in the long run, I want to say this. I want to be your friend, your ally, your partner. But I wish to be a friend who stands on his own 2 feet. I wish to be an independent ally, a free partner, because these are the values that we share together. We need France to be stronger. I am determined to carry through with the reforms that my country has put off for all too long. I will not turn back. I will implement all of them, because France has turned back for all too long. My country has enormous assets, and I want, whilst respecting its very unique identity, to put my country in a position where it can win all the battles of globalization. I passionately love France, but I'm lucid about the work that remains to be accomplished. It is this ambitious, lucid, far-sighted France that I have come to present to you today. A France that comes out to meet America, to renew the covenant of friendship and alliance that Washington and Lafayette sealed in Yorktown. Together, ladies and gentlemen, let us be worthy of the example they set. Together, let us be equal to their ambition. Together, let us be true to their memories. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I say this to you on behalf of the French people. Long live the United States of America. Long live France. Long live French-American friendship.